Hi everyone, today let's get straight into markets. You can see we did get a slight bounce off the trend here. It looks like we're getting a little bit of sideways consolidation. That's kind of what we looked for, and let's see where it could be going next. Do me a quick favor and like and subscribe and watch the video till the end to help out the channel, and let's get started. So looking at the Fear and Greed Index, we did get a no change day, 70 today, 70 yesterday, flat on it, after pulling back pretty substantially into the 15th. Momentum still in extreme greed, strength and breadth, no changes. Put call ratio actually going a little bit lower here today, back into greed there. Volatility, no changes. Did pull back slightly, but still in neutral. Safe haven demand continuing to pull back, getting that sideways action while bonds continue to outperform a little bit. Extreme greed there still though. And then looking at junk bonds, actually a little bit of a pullback here back into regular fear, seeing a little bit of a step up there. Not a whole lot, but a little. Moving over to earnings, Morgan Stanley doing very, very well, outperforming significantly, beating on the top line by about $1 billion. US Bank Corp not as good. Discover doing pretty well as well. And then for tomorrow, we start getting into those heavy hitters with Netflix, Blackstone, fairly interesting, Intuitive Surgical, Snap-on Tools, Alaska Airlines, and then for the Friday, SLB, fairly interesting, American Express, definitely P&G, want to see where those staples are at. So off to a pretty good start. So far, everything looks pretty good. Moving over to Max Payne, still down at 565, well below current price for the Friday session. Current price 582.30, so quite a bit up there. And then you can see that big one we've been talking about all the way down at 305. I don't think that's actually real, but still a lot lower for 14 days from now. Yeah, you can see it here. I wonder if that's a little bit of a glitch. I don't think Max Payne would be that far out of the money, but for tomorrow, slight bearish at 0.39, and then for the Friday session, fairly significant, 3% down. So something to watch for if this starts to roll into tomorrow's session. Maybe we get an acceleration Friday. But understand we're back into bearish. Yesterday, Max Payne said a little bit of an up move. Sure enough, we got that. And now we'll see if it follows through to the downside. Moving over to the charts, looking at the SPX here to start, you can see on that Monday session, we did push right to that trend line here and then rejected from it. That is a very important trend line here. Zooming out to the weekly chart, you can see that's the parallel line from this previous consolidation top, marks the top here. We did get a touch there. So that is an important trend line, just looking at that for a second. And then we did get the pullback from it yesterday and then a little bit of a retracement today. My guess is this is a sideways consolidation, kind of like this. You get the pullback, get a little bit of a bounce, and then you start to see that continuation. Similarly here, move up, big down move, consolidation, and then we get the pullback. So I think that's what we're starting to see here. And then looking at it on the SPY, you can see that rising wedge, again, a bearish pattern. Momentum basically flat, but technically stepped to bullish. And then looking at the RSI, still above the SMA here, almost touched it yesterday, sideways consolidation. Again, volume yesterday was very strong, volume today, not so much. So not a lot of conviction in the rally. Technically, it did hold the trend, which is interesting. So that still holds the bullish thesis with the breakout retest continuation. We'll see if that continues to play in tomorrow's session. And then looking at it here on the hourly chart, you can see the big down move to the retest, held the level, retested again in the morning, and then rallied up. Starting to see a little bit of a fade into the after hours. If it's going to hold up, it needs to retest that 21 EMA at 580.58, retest that level, and then get the continuation. That's really what I would want to see if we're going to see this resumption to the upside. Momentum fading, not super overbought, RSI to the downside on the hourly. Like I said, short-term bearish, look for the retest. If it holds, should get a little bit of continuation back up into the 585 area. Moving over to the 4-hour chart here for the Tasty charts, you can see that up candle did get back above all the EMAs and SMAs. 8 EMA there at 581.40. Still in bullish conditions, did not break the ATR trailing stop on a closing basis. We did get a touch there on the 7 o'clock candle. 579.20 is that level. It's been flat here for a couple of candles in a row. ATR band still trending up and to the right slightly. Waiting to see if we get that continuation to the next band. That's at 584.33. Again, right in that same region that we were just in 2 days ago. Momentum bearish. Again, volume not really there at all. Very little conviction. We're actually continuing to fall just a little bit after hours. Moving over to the NASDAQ here on the NDQ, on the actual index here, you can see we did get a touch of that trend line. Again, just just like we saw on the SPY charts here on the Monday. Touched that level, pulled back from the trend. So that's kind of your upside limit right now. Did pull back, almost touched this lower trend at 20,011. 21 EMA sitting there at 19,990. Momentum still bearish, RSI still bearish. The structure is still bullish, but it needs to hold this trend in there. And then looking at the Qs, kind of the same thesis, except we didn't have that upper trend. That's why it's important to have longer term and shorter term charts. But shorter term broke the trend, closed below it, did get a slight continuation. Low of the day was 487.57, almost touched that 21 EMA at 486.55, and then the trend was just below it here at 485.70. Again, momentum rolling to bearish, RSI still rolling to bearish. Really no change on that thesis. And then looking at the shorter time frames, I did change my levels here just a little bit. I added a 498.44 level. That is actually going back here to the high of the 16th of July. That is the very touch of the high. And you can see we hit that 2 days ago, and then we touched it yesterday, and then we got the bigger breakdown. So that seems to be an interesting level. I think that's important to watch here. But otherwise, 492 has been the level. We did get close to it. We rejected off of it into the close. Still in this kind of consolidation of EMAs, continuing to sell here a little bit after hours. 200 was support on the hourly chart, so that's what we're looking for, a test of that level. That is currently at 488.13. If this structure breaks here, I think we're probably going much, much lower. At this point, you have a consolidation, attempted breakout, breakdown below this consolidation low, faded a little bit, retest, now looking for a little bit more of a sell. Momentum also rolling to bearish here in the after hours. So kind of everything says this should continue to fall in my opinion, but you do have some key levels of support that are possible. Moving over to the Qs on the Tasty charts, you can see this is still in bearish conditions. Didn't really change here on the ATR trailing stop. That's still at 498.73. Consolidation still holding that 55 EMA at 489.63. That's your support there. If that breaks, your next level is 486.86, which is that 89 EMA, just barely above that lowest ATR band at 486.24. That's where you would expect to find some support, even if we do get that breakdown tomorrow. So about a 1% down move into that zone, then we'll see what happens from there. It also brings you back into this consolidation, so there's some volume in there. And then below all of that, you do have the 144 at 483.21. Looking at volume, no volume, just like we saw on the SPY. You would expect this to continue to fall, in my opinion, until we start to see a little bit of a volume spike, kind of finishing off the move. So right now, looks like a change in structure. You have a high, this kind of consolidation low, and a lower low here. So if you get a bit of a buy, expect a lower high and then a sell continuation if we don't get the sell off first. Moving over to the Russell and the Dow. The Russell had a great day. This was on my list. I think this was first actually for my plays for the day, and it did get a big move. 226.02 broke. We got the close above it. Continuing to be strong after hours. Momentum bullish, RSI bullish. Everything looks very, very good. 229.18 is your next level. 223.09 is the next one after that. You do have some trend resistance in here. That was the most recent high at that trend, and then we got a bit of a rejection, higher low setups, and now we're headed right back into that zone. So we'll see how that plays. Everything looks good. I think this is still one of the best plays right now. And then looking at the Dow, just barely missed its all-time highs, but it did have a pretty strong day. Headed back to this trend, which is about $1.50 higher. Momentum back to bullish, RSI bouncing off the SMA, kind of similar to everything else, but still would expect that to be resistance. Again, Russell looks very, very good. And then moving over to some stocks that I want to cover today, we got United Airlines, massive move, 12.4% on the back of their earnings, breaking a level 71.16. This is getting pretty close to its all-time high up at 93.75. Broke this level here, 79.02 is the level. And actually zooming out here, you can see this is nearly at the bottom of this longer-term consolidation. That's that 79.02 level, so it's almost there. Then we'll see if it can get back up to those all-time highs. Very big move here for United Airlines, and really it's doubled since 5 August. It was down in the 37 area. Now we're up in the 72 area, so something to consider. United Airlines, some of these stocks finding some really bullish moves, huge volume on the day as well. And then ROKU, I brought this one up this morning. I do like this setup still. It's in a consolidation. It hit the level. We're really watching this right here at 79.65. It broke that level and then immediately rejected. Momentum bearish, RSI bearish. So something to consider. If it breaks out, that's really going to be a very bullish move. I think it's going to push up towards that 100 level. If it rejects from here and it breaks that 74.08 level, maybe that's a bearish trade, and you can see it move down into the maybe 67, 68 area. That could be interesting. ROKU is a super volatile stock. You can see huge moves here. Went from 55 all the way up to 107, and then all the way back down to 55. Actually a little bit lower, 51 or so, and now we're back into the 70s. So very, very volatile. Lots of movement possible. Again, if it breaks here, I think it's going to go back up to 100, another 25% move. If it breaks from here, that would be about a 15% move from there. And then my support would be in that 65 area. So ROKU, definitely something to be cautious about. Right now, the structure is bullish, but it has not broken out from that level that we're watching yet. Moving over to Apple and Microsoft. Apple gapping down and falling 0.89. We talked about this a couple days ago. We got the gap and rally, hit the level 237.23. That was the price target, and then immediately gave nearly all of that back after hitting the all-time high. Gap down and fell. It did hold the trend, so technically that's bullish. You're getting a retest of the trend. Something to consider there. Maybe it holds that level and we do get a continuation up. But momentum step to bearish, RSI still above the SMA, really could go either way. It's falling just a smidgen after hours. And then looking at Microsoft here, critical level, tested it once again. You can see my alert there at 412.72, just below my 413.36 level. Touched that level just briefly and then spiked back up to get above this trend line. Watching this as a bit of a wedge now. I still think it's going to break down, but for now it is still holding this wedge pattern. Falling just a smidgen after hours, looks like another test. RSI just barely below the SMA. Did get a continuation there, so weakness coming back into the stock. Probably one of the better plays if it does break down from this level. Almost looks like a bear flag with the big move down, consolidation. And I do believe this is going to get the continuation within the next couple trading days. Moving over to Tesla and NVDA. Tesla did get a slight positive day, 0.8. Momentum starting to roll to bullish. RSI starting to trend a little bit higher back up to the SMA. Gap down, consolidation. If we get a little bit of a resumption, price target would be the trend resistance here at 229.27. And then looking at NVIDIA, slight retracement after that huge down candle. Again, you got the big down move, looking for a little bit of sideways consolidation, and then usually that starts to roll back down. 21 EMA would be your near-term price target at 125.08. After we see this 130.35 level break right in here at trend, look for that next touch. Momentum still bearish, RSI just barely bouncing off the SMA. Again, not a lot of volume relative to what we saw yesterday. I would expect more selling. Moving over to Amazon and Alphabet. Amazon down 0.43, momentum starting to roll, RSI starting to roll. Both of these are trending lower, but it is still technically above the SMA. Retesting that 21 EMA. Again, we talked about this before as 21 EMA retest as one of my favorite setups. We gap down, retested, looking for this to roll down. 144 EMA down at 183.14. So that play could still be back on the board now that we got the breakout, breakdown. 9 EMA still holding a support 185.87, but I think this is going to roll here. And then looking at Alphabet, this was supposed to get the continuation up to the level at 170.95, but we came up short hitting that 144 EMA and then rejecting off of there. This is still an inverse head and shoulders, so maybe it's just kind of hesitating before we get a bigger break up. Momentum still bullish, RSI still above the SMA there. But the overall thesis of all of these kind of bull trades is not really playing out very well. Seems like markets just have this overall bearish thesis, nothing getting really strong follow through to the bull side, at least within the big tech stocks. So that's definitely concerning, something to consider in your trading. Moving over to staples and discretionaries. Staples getting a basically flat day, down 6 cents. Momentum still swinging, RSI still bullish. Want to see this continue and break that 82.53 level. Couldn't quite do it. Threw a wick to the trend, threw a wick to resistance. Still can't get that break. And then looking at discretionaries, big push up. 0.53, momentum swinging, RSI pretty much right at it. Let's see how that looks. You can see we're pretty much touching just short of it. This looks pretty good, to be honest. We did get a strong continuation. This is what I would have expected off of that bullish pin, held the level, and then continuation. Want to see this push 253 cents. We'll see if we get the continuation here. Maybe there's a little bit of risk on here in the short term, up to that level, and then we'll see what happens after that. Maybe establish a lower high at resistance, and then we get the bigger break. Moving over to RIOT and Marathon. RIOT gapping through the level and continuing up to that 144 EMA. That's the next target at $9.35. Mara also having a good move here. 6.86% momentum bullish, RSI bullish. Looking for a touch of that 1878 level. 144 is still in there as resistance, but I think both of these are going to push a little bit more. They're definitely getting a resumption, definitely some volume coming through on this move as well. Hopefully that gives it a little bit more continuation and a break of those resistance areas. Moving over to Breadth. Breadth hung in there pretty well. We did not eclipse the high from yesterday, but we did hold the level. 68.14, got back above it after closing below it just slightly. 50-day did not do nearly as well. We got a retest and a sell-off back below it, so that doesn't look as good. That looks like a breakdown retest continuation for lower, whereas the 20-day is holding up back in this same consolidation from basically all of September. Overall, I would say mixed signals. Moving over to the dollar, what a massive breakout and continuation, almost up to that 103.68 level, almost a retest of that 200 SMA. This has been a massive move on the dollar. We called it here, consolidation, kind of falling wedge style. Then we got the breakout, huge move there. This has been nearly 3.25%, which is huge for the dollar. Big moves there, looking for a retest of that 103.64 level. We broke that all the way back here on 2 August, and we've since pretty much round tripped that move back to those previous lows. Momentum fading, RSI fading after hitting overbought conditions. I think we might touch the 200 there at 103.76, but this is a massive rally and the dollar continues to run, and we really have not seen that follow through on equities to the downside quite yet. And I do think that that will come to fruition if the dollar continues to stay so strong. Moving over to bonds. Bonds continue to rally as yields have been falling slightly after their massive run. We can see the fall on bonds. Same here on TLT. Now we're getting a bit of a bounce, pushing back to that 68.15 level. Momentum swinging to bullish, RSI swinging to bullish. On both of these, bonds continue to look like a good move. I still like these medium term, and now in the short term, they also look good. So bonds in a little bit of a bull move. Moving over to the VIX, you can see the VIX did fall again here today, 5.23%. 55 EMA still in there at 1892. Trend support around 1915. Continued to fall, so we saw the breakdown, retest, breakdown. VIX should fall a little bit more. Momentum breaking down, RSI breaking down below the SMA. So seems like everything here on volatility is falling. Could certainly hit this area and bounce, but right now it does look a little bit more bearish today than it did yesterday. Moving over to my accounts, you can see I made some money on the day. I did add some money here as well. I think I added about $500. So this is not all gains. If you take that off, I should have been at 134.9 or so, which is more in line with that $217 profit. In terms of positions, I rolled out the IWM quite a lot to 6 days from now to 224 for $3 credit. I was able to do that for a very small debit. That gives me a little bit more room to the upside. I have no issues being patient with this call side if the IWM continues to look super bullish. And then once it starts to come back down, which it will do eventually, then I can collect these credits back on the call side. So being patient there, I think there's more in it to the upside, want to give it more room. If it continues to look strong tomorrow, then I can roll this out to the end of the week of next week. And then for the Qs, let these puts expire worthless. Collected that money there. That was about $100 left after the profits from yesterday as well. And then I did sell some more puts for tomorrow, basically $2 credit again. I had to go a little bit higher, which was frustrating. Some of the volatility came out of markets, but 488 and 489 for a net credit of about $2 for tomorrow's session. Again, being cautious, I think markets could fall. They were down a little bit today, and I think they could go a little bit more tomorrow. Let me know down in the comments section what you thought of markets today. Were you surprised with the sideways consolidative action after the big down move yesterday, or is this what you were looking for? Otherwise, like and subscribe if you got any value out of this video, and make sure you hit the bell so you don't miss out on any future episodes. Of course, none of this is financial advice. This is all for entertainment purposes. Good luck in your trading and have a great day.